Yes, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel for the second stream of the day. It's the first time I've done two streams or two uploads in quite a while. Two uploads in a day. Don't say I don't spoil you. Anyways, I should be doing this a whole lot more. So I do apologise if it feels like I've been a little bit on the lackluster side, but I could well I might be that a little bit lackluster at the moment, but I tell you one other thing that is really lackluster, and that's England's international teams, because we are only beating Australia 1 goal to 0. Prime Southgate football, taking the golden generation and staining it in a little something else. It's a little brown, but we won't get into that. We're here to discuss something to do with Manchester United, and for anybody that's like one of the regulars that is in the in my Instagram group chat, would have seen that I put a statement in there about Manchester United and the higher ups of the club. When I made a show not too long ago about Manchester United becoming an enemy, or the fans being made out to be the enemy of the club. Good evening, Stephanie. Good to see you back here. Hope your evening's going well. But I made a show about the club making the fans the enemy of the club, and I think what we're seeing goes to prove my point, because Simon Stone's come out today and he has essentially confirmed what my initial suspicions were, is that Manchester United know what they were doing by letting thousands, and I mean thousands, of Galatasaray fans into all home sections of Old Trafford. They let 2,000 as a min. I think it was subject to, I can't remember if it was a minimum or maximum of 2,000 Galatasaray fans on that fateful Champions League evening. And straight away, we saw the stories. Oh, the club are investigating. The club believe that the fans, Man United fans or ticket holders, were to blame for this redistribution of the tickets to Galatasaray fans. Oh, it's the fans' fault. It's those lousy supporters that come to our games every week. It's them lousy fans again. It's the hysterical masses again. So the club straight away are like, it's not us. It's not us. It's the fans. They're the ones. They're the ones to blame for this. And straight away, I knew that wasn't true, because I've seen people come out about that and say, I gave my ticket to their ticket office foundation, right? Or the foundations where those groups will then distribute the tickets to other Manchester United supporters. And these people were saying, oh, my seat had a Galatasaray fan in it for some reason. Why is that? Why is that, Man United? Why is my seat in the home stand being taken by an away supporter? Why has that happened? So the club essentially came out to say it's the fans' fault. They're to blame. They're to blame for all of this troubles. It's all them. Nothing to do with us whatsoever. Nothing to do with us. Don't look at us. We're not. We're blame free here. Simon Stone's come out today and said that the club now they admit that it was their problem, that it was their fault, that they allowed around 2,000 away supporters to be seated, not just like dotted around, but in groups. They allowed the thousands of them to be seated in groups, dotted around the home stands at Old Trafford. I'm pretty sure there's been no public documentation of this ever happening at a Manchester United home game ever before. If it's ever happened before, it would have been a very small scale, not even scraping 50 away fans in the home sections. We had thousands, but it's the only way that United can fill out to capacity at Old Trafford. Let's sell more away tickets in the home sections. Let's do that, because that's the only way the club are going to get around keeping the attendance numbers up. And I'll tell you what, they will go and post those attendance figures on official documented pages where everyone can go and see, oh, the attendance for that Galatasaray game was phenomenal. Right, so you didn't put an asterisk next to it saying, well, there were about several thousand of those people in attendance who were away fans sitting in the home stands next to United supporters. Right, great, good job. Blame Game United board in overdrive. It's never them. 100%, and it is honestly disgusting. It is disgusting, and it proves my point with my video. And I thought I had a slight inkling, maybe I might have been a little bit wrong or over the top by, coming out with this perception that the club or the people at the club honestly think that the fans are the enemy, that they're the bane to their existence. I wanted to believe that that was me being hysterical, to quote the words of Ed Woodward. I thought it would have been me just being hysterical. I hoped that it would have been me being hysterical now. I wish that it was me being hysterical. I wish it was me overreacting. But that's not the case. That is not the case. It's come out now. It's been admitted. They screwed it up. They screwed up. But then again, did they screw up, or was that completely intentional? Because they know their attendance figures would be taking a massive hit because the amount of tickets that were given up. So they gave them to willing away supporters. And you know what? They'll keep doing it. See, if home fans stop going and keep giving up their tickets, they're just going to start selling away tickets to be seated in home sections. And that's why they keep them all together, because of security reasons, perhaps. I don't know. But honestly, absolutely pathetic. Heads should roll all about money with these board yes men. It is. Money first, dignity last. The dignity comes last in all of this. The whole thing from top to bottom. The dignity. You sell your soul to the devil, right? No pun intended. I guess maybe it kind of was intended because, Red Devils and all. And, well, let's be real. I mean, the club's kind of gone semi-anti-Christ anyway with their advertisement on the merchandising for this year. So maybe there's just like, well, fuck it. Let's go all the way. Let's literally sell out in every aspect, in every sense of the word. So that's probably what they've gone along with. That's probably that's the party line they're towing. That's the party line they're towing now. So, yeah, Manchester United are liars. They are lying to the masses. Absolute liars. Tell you what, now that I've just noticed it, Bruno Fernandes has had 2 assists in his game against Portugal. Against Portugal, he's Portuguese, what no? Against Slovakia, he's assisted twice, and both assists are actually quite good. So fair plays. Fair plays to Bruno Fernandes. Assisted once to Gonçalo Ramos, which was an absolute sick lofted pass. And then this one was the cross, low-driven cross to the far post for Ronaldo. But yeah, things going well. Things going well for Bruno in the Portuguese shirt. That and Casemiro's also apparently picked up a knock. Picked up an injury, so he is most likely going to be ruled out for a little bit of time. Manchester United just can't get a break, can we? We just cannot get a break. Casemiro out with an injury. I don't know for how long. We'll have to see what the medical assessments come out with. If it's a short injury, a long injury, but he had to be subbed off early in his most recent international game, which absolutely sucks. And yeah, not great. But yeah, just as to clarify on the Simon Stone report as to what he has said, and this is quoted as what he's typed out here. That Man United admit 2,000 Galatasaray fans were allowed to access home sections at Old Trafford. I mean, are there any clubs out there, other clubs in the world, that do these sorts of things willingly, but they cover it up by blaming fans? I don't think there is any other clubs out there on the planet that do that. Honestly, I don't think there is, which is absolutely crazy. We're one of a kind. We're literally one of a kind. John Murtaugh's talking about stuff. Great, what's this guy talking about? He's talking about injuries. John Murtaugh's talking about trying to look into why we've got so many injuries and preventing injury crises happening in the future. Hold on, I'm just going to go through all of this actually. So the mixed results achieved so far can partly be explained by the fact that 16 first-team players have been injured or unavailable for periods since the start of the season. This represents 2/3 of the strength. That means Erik ten Hag hasn't been able to choose his best 11 once this season. Fortunately, some injured players are starting to return, which should make a difference. We are also looking at why we've had so many injuries to improve the prevention in the future. Some of them are impact injuries like Kobe and Amad Diallo, who are unpredictable. Others are muscular and could reflect on volume of matches played over the past year, including last year's World Cup, which I think that's kind of the same boat that most people are in at the moment with that. Richard Arnold's talked out of his arse as well. John Murtaugh and his team have put in place a clear long-term squad strategy which guides our decisions at each transfer window. We knew there would be a transition, but I share the group's frustration and fans because the results have not lived up to expectations so far. And this strategy is protect our arses, right? Protect our arses, guys, in overdrive, PR overdrive. And this is the thing, this is the strategy. It's kind of clear as day, to be completely frankly honest. Clear as day. What is the strategy? The strategy, right, is let's save a buck. Let's tell fans all about, and this is the thing, this all goes hand in hand here. Because otherwise the club wouldn't be lying to fans about the whole, away fans in the home sections on a Champions League night. They wouldn't be blaming fans and lying straight through their teeth if then this transfer strategy that they've implemented was not also peddled PR to the fans. Because it goes hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. That's kind of how it works. It's like an agency. PR agency. Ironic that some some fans wanting Casemiro to be dropped. Be careful what you wish for. 50% Casemiro is better than the others in that midfield. But I'll tell you what's going to be interesting to see is if Casemiro doesn't play, Amrabat is the only player that plays as like the holding player in that midfield. If we still see the same problems and Amrabat start to get exposed the same way Casemiro was, or has a bad game in the same light that Casemiro has, I'll tell you what, it would be enlightening for one, but also a little bit kind of like a I told you so moment, where it's like, well, the structure of midfield is not favourable to anybody. It's like we don't hold a disciplined shape, a unit-based shape. We don't hold the shapes when we are in defensive scenarios. We are literally a fluid defense, defending by individuals, which is why it's sort of a higher pressing system, and why it usually is quite high up the pitch. But most cases, we're not really high up the pitch, so it's sort of having to transition it to being more of a defensive system as opposed to a more attacking system. But Casemiro, statistically, in various aspects, has shown a decline, but in other aspects, compared to other counterparts that have played in his position, have not quite lived up to par. So it's like you win some, you lose some with the Casemiro debate thing. If you believe that Casemiro should be dropped, there's not. You've not got all just pros in your argument's favour, but you also got some negatives to have a look at if you are someone who bases decisions or opinions off of stats. There's always stats that will come in contrast to your viewpoints. But yeah, this whole transfer strategy behind the future, or the way in which this club is going, as I've said already, I believe that it is entirely weaponized. It's just weaponized by the board. It's just weaponized against the fans, because that's the thing. New transfer strategy. If we want to try and save an extra buck, you can't say that. You can't say, well, we're going to try and spend less in transfer windows. You're not going to be able to do that. What you are going to do is you're going to tell the fans what you want them to hear, so that you can get them to sympathize with you, right? And it's worked this summer. It has worked, because a lot of people have been talking about sell to buys and FFP restrictions. We've not been impacted by either. Sorry, we haven't. You can't be impacted by sell to buy when that was your message before spending a penny. But then in the span of spending £180 million thereabouts, you've only sold £15 million to £17 million worth of players. That excuse doesn't fly. It doesn't fly. It falls like a lead balloon. So transfer strategy can most likely kiss everybody's arse in this fan base, because it's just PR motivated. It's PR motivated. It has to be. Amrabat Hannibal with Bruno Mount or Ericsson, and then maybe Donny, or maybe Donny time. Possibly. I mean, Amrabat for me is just a guarantee that he has to start, just because we need someone with the defensive capabilities in that midfield to offer as close to as balance as we can get. Whether it's, I personally would probably go with Bruno as the starter, but then Mason Mount has to go on the bench. I don't want to see this persistence of Bruno and Mount have to be in the same team. Like, this isn't Arsenal with Arteta at the start of the season, where you've got to get Kai Havertz in this team, so Thomas Partey has to leave the midfield to go play at right back. This is not this scenario. So stop trying to make it like that. And this whole obsession, right, with modern day managers, with believing that, players can play in every position. No, they cannot. They cannot play in every position. Stop kidding yourself. Yeah, if you've got an attacking midfielder, they play in attacking midfield positions unless they show very obvious, clear and obvious signs that they are gifted in a wide position. Bruno Fernandes has shown no signs of proving to be an effective, talented winger when most, if not all, of his contributions and best performances have come from the central positions. We have not seen one standout performance of Bruno Fernandes on the right wing. So why are we playing him there? The same topic of discussion where Mikel Arteta tries to justify Thomas Partey playing at right back, saying, but he's played there at Atletico Madrid. Yeah, he played there, what was it, 14 times out of about 150? He played at right back 14 times and has not been there since, probably for very, very good reason too. So for me, we need to stop with this whole obsession of like, if you're tied down, right, like the defense situation, right, the defensive situation, if your hand is forced by needing to place someone in a position because their qualities are the closest to suiting that position, because you haven't got enough depth of cover, or there is just an injury crisis for that position, like the left back position and various centre backs and right back positions, then I can understand playing players out of position and pushing them to like full back, left backs, right backs, or centre backs. Like that's understandable. But the attack you lose balance because you're playing a central creator on the right, and then someone right who needs options available with pace out wide in the middle, but he hasn't got pace in the middle. So where is the balance here? Where is the balance? There isn't. There isn't any balance. And once again, we are left to the topical conversation that it is the graveyard shift up top for the strikers. So Rasmus Højlund, it's all well and good being a high potential striker, or someone who's pacey, strong, physically, and good height and good stature. It's all well and good having all of these lovely qualities and fantastic traits to have as a striker. It's all well and good, but there's one slight problem. Every striker is going to struggle in a team that doesn't create clear-cut chances. But we haven't got the balance further back to connect those 2/3 of the pitch. We haven't. We've got gun-ho wingers, or wingers that run with tunnel vision, like Rashford, and we've got midfields that haven't got balance. So we lose the ball a lot easier and spend more time having to play transition. So the ball's never really in and around the striker's position anyway. So unless he's literally the sole target man up top, which is probably what we've opted to do, because Onana, a ball-playing goalkeeper that everyone's so mad, raving crazy for, who thought David De Gea was the problem at the club, now seeing this ball-playing goalkeeper playing long ball but not doing it very well. So be careful, like what Stephanie said with the whole Casemiro drop him and all of that stuff. Be careful what you wish for, because it might just come back to kick you in the teeth. We really need some players returning. Mainoo and Malacia would be very welcome. Having just a natural fullback would be, a natural fullback at the left back position would be nice. And I mean, Malacia, I'll be more than happy to see him return. I mean, I know a lot of people have got doubts about him, but I think just having him as the option available down there just to do a job, and not asking the world of you, just do the job. And it's all good. You can play the overlap, and Malacia can play an overlap. So if we've got those areas and having a fullback that's got high work rate to overlap the winger, then fantastic. That adds an extra element of balance to the team, which is what we so desperately need. And having Mainu would be great for strength in depth. Um, Anthony Herbert's first time on the channel. Good to see you. Glad that you finally found the channel in the end. It's always a pleasure to have the good folks come join in. I hope you're doing well, Anthony. Hope everything is all good with you. Hello to everybody. Um, but yeah, what I would like to see as well is whether it be Anthony or Pelestri on the right hand side, just as a natural winger to play in a winger's position, again adds more balance. So you take away the whole aspect that Bruno Fernandes is your central creator, right? That's his position, going out to the right and being removed from his impact areas, but then has to have or enact traits that we know he doesn't have. So he ends up looking a whole lot worse than what he actually is. And then everyone says, I told you about Bruno. I told you he wasn't good enough. It's because he's playing as a winger when he's got no pace and no tracking abilities on those fullbacks that outpace him. He can't chase someone who's twice as quick as him. I hope you understand this. It's kind of the laws of physics. A player that's quicker than you, usually you can't keep up with someone that's quicker than you. Just kind of how it works. But tell that to them. Those who are like talking to a brick wall. Never going to end well. Or the saying, as the saying goes, right? It's difficult to win an argument against someone who is intelligent, but it is downright impossible to win an argument against someone that is stupid. Last year, we had 5 left backs on our books. Shaw, Malacia, Tellers, Williams, Fernandes. Now we have injured Region as well. You couldn't make this up. I think Region should be back quite soon. I think he's back in training. He just wasn't fit enough to actually play the game against Brentford. But I think now that he's had the time off, he should be back fit as well. And not to say that he's been crap for us, because he hasn't. He's actually been what I like to call the steady Eddie. He's had a steady Eddie showing at left back for us so far this season, so I've got no complaints about it, to be honest. No quarrels about Serge Region. And it would be nice if Malacia is fit as the around about the same point as Sergio Region. So we've actually will have 2 left backs fit and available. Lovely stuff. we have options in a position in that left back. Is there any more news about your takeover business of the club? There was news. I did do a show about some of the latest business side of things on, I think it was last night on the Thursday evening show. And basically the latest was that Sir Jim Ratcliffe's come back to the forefront with a improvised bid, if you will. I don't know why that's gone on lagged out like that. But basically, yeah, Sir Jim Ratcliffe's come back to the forefront with a revised bid that's sort of played around with the structure of it a bit, because the original bid that the business account or Bloomberg came out with said that his bid structurally was dead in the water because it had infringements on, or had legality trouble. Well, yeah, legal troubles with minority public shareholders. So there was a lot of outrage about what Sir Jim Ratcliffe was planning to do. So he's had to sort of find a way to go restructure everything. And I think what's happened is he's come back with a proposal which has taken notice, or the Glazers or Rain Group's taken notice of that, and are apparently in the next couple of days going to discuss it at a boardroom meeting to assess the situation. Now, what I think a lot of people that I was talking about on Thursday last night was that there was a split with the fans as to the way in which they've taken it. There's one side of fans saying, this is terrible, this is really, really bad, we're in panic now because Sir Jim Ratcliffe is essentially putting forth a minority stake. That's probably, I think that's the latest structure to his bid, is a minority, which means the Glazers stay, right? They stay. It's kind of like a 50-50 partnership ownership thing, which would be absolutely abysmal for the club. It will be beyond abysmal for the club. It'll probably be worse because it enables the Glazers, but Sir Jim Ratcliffe has not had a good track record with his own club, Nice in France, which have also themselves run into troubles over the years since he took over. So we would probably hit, I mean, barring having investment into the club, it will probably run into even more troubles. The other half that are not as concerned look at it and say, but Qatar are stubborn. They don't accept defeat. Qatar never accept defeat, which would mean if they were to concede defeat to Sir Jim Ratcliffe, it would probably be a first in their books. But they will probably come back with a revised offer as well to say, well, look, we're upping our bid because previously, when there was radio silence from the Rain Group and Glazers, our bid was better than Sir Jim Ratcliffe's bid. So there's no reason for us to up our bid because we know that our bid's the best. Well, evidently it's no longer the best. So now the ball is in Qatar's court. What do they want to do? Will they up their bid now because the competition has improved their bid and is more favourable for some reason? It's more favourable to the Glazers than the Qatar bid is. So 9-2 Foundation, ball's in your court. Now, how are you going to opt to serve back into this rally? So we'll have to see. Maybe they do just outright pay the 6 billion. I know Ben Jacobs has stated that once or twice that Qatar could very realistically just stick 6 billion on the table and be done with it. If they do that, that probably would be curtains to the takeover process, just outright. But it's a very strong adamancy that 9-2 Foundation, we don't want to overbid, we don't want to overpay for this. Our bid, we believe, was the best. It's a take it or leave it. But if it's like, even if the bid was better than Sir Jim Ratcliffe's and the Glazers, still went with Sir Jim Ratcliffe's bid, then there's nothing that Qatar could do. There's nothing that Qatar could do. But if it is the case that it is that beforehand Sir Jim's bid wasn't the better one, to now it being the better one, Qatar at least know what they can do to sway things back in their favour. Tedious takeover talk. Sir Jim Ratcliffe is essentially another Glazer, more debt and little or no investment. Probably thereabouts, right? Yeah, to be honest, it is probably thereabouts. Another Glazer or Glazeronomics in terms of ownership to the club. And to be honest, with the amount of money that Sir Jim Ratcliffe wants to put as a bid to taking minority stakes or minority shares in the club, the thing is that that's a lot of money for Sir Jim. He won't want to then spend £2 billion on renovating the club or renovating the stadium, improving the training grounds, the training complexes. He won't want to spend that much money on it. So it would be a very, 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 very slow process in renewing things at the club, which is too slow for Manchester United because other clubs literally overnight can put in the money to then see the changes happen, to see the renovations happen. They do it overnight, not the process of actually enacting them, but putting the money aside to actually investing in the club. They make the decisions practically overnight. But it's going to be more penny pinching. with Sir Jim Ratcliffe. And I'll tell you one thing that's also going to suck is the transfer policy might change as well. It might change again, and it would be probably less of a we will bid, you know, transfer fees for players to beat the competition to signings. It probably won't have that. It'll probably be you can't spend more than £30 million per player. And if a player costs more than that, then you've got to go look somewhere else. We might see another change to transfer policies, which the transfer policy we've got at the moment is absolutely screwed up. It is absolutely messed up. But it might get even that much worse. So, you know, I'd say watch this space with the whole, like, all the policies at the club. If Sir Jim Ratcliffe were to actually take over, I've got absolutely no confidence whatsoever that Manchester United will ever go back to the top under Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Ever. We won't see it. We won't see it. Question: can you see Ten Hag getting sacked if things don't change? If things don't change, most likely, because it's probably one of those things where it's like, for me, where I stand on these matters, I don't believe that sacking the manager changes anything at squad level anyway. I don't really feel like it's going to change anything, because I see a lot of people saying, oh, well, let's forget the Glazers now. Let's look at the manager. You know, the squad's not playing well. The team's not playing well. I'm like, but you've said these same things for every other manager before. Don't blame the owners, blame the managers. And you look at every other club, and it's like, well, Jurgen Klopp, if you use the United syndrome with the fan base, if it was Jurgen Klopp at Man United having troubles, we would be blaming Jurgen Klopp. But Liverpool, the Liverpool fan bases went straight to FSG and said, look, FSG, you're absolutely taking the piss here. You know, this lack of squad investment over the years, and now we've been left short-handed. They've still been left short-handed with this summer transfer window just gone, but Jurgen Klopp's getting a good tune out of the players that he has got. He's still missing players, and he's still making do with them, with what he has. So, I mean, hats off to Jurgen for actually getting more from this team that he's got than most probably would have expected. But yeah, I'd probably say that it is very, very realistic that Ten Hag could end up getting sacked if things don't change. But if things get worse, because then it becomes the question of, you know, players not playing for the manager, because there is a split. There are players that don't care about this manager. There are players that don't respect this manager, but there are also players, and I suppose you call it cliques in the dressing room that do support the manager, that do stick by him, that do believe in his processes, in his systems, and all of that stuff, right? So there are splits in the dressing room. There are divides as to what people think about the manager, and I suppose one of the things that has been discussed is the goalkeeping situation, because a lot of players didn't like the fact that Ten Hag wanted David De Gea gone. A lot of players believed that Ten Hag should have kept David De Gea, but that's a managerial decision. To be quite frankly honest, I don't know why players are showing mass discontent about a decision that the club's made along with the manager. You know, you're not really paid to have those sorts of concerns. You're paid to just do your job that you've been told to do on the training ground and on the football pitch. So focus on that, and don't start crying to the media when your best mate gets let go from the club. Can you see more players coming in a January window? Possibly. I do think that there is possibilities to it, but I think the question really is, how are these players going to come in? Because if we're going with the prime Murta and Richard Arnold's transfer policy that they're, you know, trying to peddle to the fans, and that there's, you know, problems spending money, oh, we can't spend, that we'd see more loan deals being done. And that's the thing. And it's clear as day to me that there's the whole trying to sell that we don't have the money when we do by negotiating loan deals as opposed to permanent transfers. Plus, for the fact that these guys can't get rid of players, it's a double bonus. It's a double, yeah. It's double delight because that means they don't have to worry about selling them if they cock up the wage side of things or the contract side of things. They don't have to worry about getting rid of those players or trying to sell them on and reading, net losses on these players. They don't have to worry about it because it's a loan deal. That player just goes at the end of his loan. You don't make a loss on it. So the new transfer policy is literally protect Richard Arnold and John Murtough as much as possible. Hide accountability. That's it. And that's the thing. I think a lot of people do need to really deep dive on the transfer policies and notice the order, the chain of events that has led us into where we are now in our transfer activity, in our transfer business, and seeing that the fees in which we paid for players, how we've gone about selling the players that we have sold, and reading in comparison. It's like the Harry Maguire story, and I covered this earlier today, this afternoon, about Harry Maguire, that he was set to go to West Ham, but the club didn't want to pay the severance pay. They didn't want to pay Harry Maguire's contract severance pay, so they didn't get rid of him. But Maguire, who knew that he wasn't in the manager's plans before the summer started, basically has been, issuing the challenges out there to say, I'm going to fight for my place. I'm going to fight for my place. Has now recently come out saying, but it's not fair on me because I haven't been given much game time. But you knew from the get-go, you knew before the summer had even started that this manager did not include you in his plans. So challenge your ambitions and go and get your first team football minutes elsewhere. That's on you. So you said, well, actually, I'm good with leaving. But you wanted a payout to leave the club, right? But now you're not happy that you're still at the club. Make it make sense, Harry. Make it make sense. Doesn't add up. Thoughts on Maguire and Evans at centre-back? Clapped. Absolutely clapped. Leicester City 2017 defence centre-back partnership. Now, do you know what? Johnny Evans, fair play to him, hasn't been woeful. He's actually been okay. But that's about it. It's okay. He's probably been better individually than Harry Maguire has and also Victor Lindelof has. But we had Kim Min-jae on the agenda for £40 million for 2 weeks in July. There was a clause in his contract that allowed that. Bayern paid it. We could and should have paid it. The only thing left to do after that, to signing Kim Min-jae, right, was sort out the wages, sort out the contracts, sort out the plan and how you're going to sell this project to Kim Min-jae. Nobody from Manchester United boarded a plane to go open discussions with him. Not once. Not one person. They just left it. They were just like, oh, we're going to go after Kim Min-jae, guys. Months later, Kim Min-jae goes and signs for Bayern Munich. We wanted to sign Kim Min-jae, guys. No, you didn't. You were never interested. You couldn't be bothered. Why would you bother paying £40 million at a cut price for Kim Min-jae? Why would you do that when you've got a released centre-back at 33, 34 years of age in Johnny Evans available, which you can sign for a 1-year deal, and you know he ain't going to ask for big bucks? Again, transfer policy in the mud. Like save the extra buck. The claim that Ten Hag lies at presses is laughable. What United manager would not back his current players because it's our board that ultimately decides that they stay or go, not Ten Hag. Well, the thing is about Ten Hag at press conferences is that he won't tell you, like he spins the truth, right? In terms of the way in which he says, I believe in I believe in this player, I believe in that player. I think, this player's top quality. I believe he's fantastic. Straight away, we know when it's players that don't get in this team, we know he's not being honest. He's doing it to say to the pressers, right, I've told you this, now stop asking me these questions about this player. Because it's like what I said in the afternoon show, because Harry Maguire is the English press, is the English PR darling. He's the media darling to them. So if Ten Hag criticises Harry Maguire in public, right, straight away, he'll probably get sacked for that alone. It would be that bad. So he has to sort of give the answers that are like those rose-tinted glasses, like everyone's got the rose-tinted glasses on. He has to paint the garden as being a bit more rosy than what it actually is. Plus, he has to sort of speak along the lines of what the club want him to say to not make the situation worse or stick them in the shit, because they've had this problem with Ralf Rangnick beforehand. Because Ralf called out the club for everything it was worth, and he got sacked pretty much that very straight after the press conference. He was gone. So to me, it's like the managers won't be fully honest about situations in press conferences, but there are good reasons for why they're not doing that. As much as we'd love them to be bluntly, brutally honest, if they were doing that, then we'd probably, with the way modern day clubs are, right, 10, 20 years ago, managers were allowed to be brutally honest in press conferences. Let's be real. They were allowed to be brutally honest. They could say what they wanted in a press conference, and the club would be like, well, damn. Now you've got NDAs, you've got, don't insult anybody, don't talk about this, don't talk about that. So it's like, for example, Manchester United managers have to sign NDAs in order to take the job. How on earth does any manager with an ounce of self-respect look at that option and say, you're not allowed to speak your mind at a press conference if you get slapped up 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-0 by your rivals or something? You're not allowed to speak your mind. Be positive for them. Straight away, you'd want to be like ripping trees up and flipping tables. You'd want to set the press conference room on fire, right? You'd want to probably take a forklift and start flipping the press conference media journalists' vehicles in the parking lot, in the car park, start flipping cars over and making it look like a scene out of a war movie or something. Like, unfortunately, NDAs are a big part of the manager's job at Manchester United. Offers, your thoughts on Sancho? I see a lot of split in this one as well. I think a lot of people are saying that Ten Hag should never criticise a player publicly. I'm just like, well, Ten Hag's more old school in how he's blunt. He's very blunt with Ten Hag, and whether you agree with him saying things in public or not, for me, Sancho had the opportunity to be the model professional, right? To be a bigger man and say, like, Eric, look, I will take this criticism on board, but please, for God's sakes, don't start talking about me in public like that again, right? Because Sancho, what he's done is everyone's tried to justify that Jadon Sancho can do what he wants because of what Eric Ten Hag said in criticism to him in public. So they're saying, well, he's allowed to do what he wants now. Well, no, you can't just do that. You can't just sit there and just be like, well, I'm not going to apologise. This guy's an asshole. Well, so you're not, you've buried, so you've burnt your bridges then. So you might as well leave the club now. You might as well leave the club now, because the guy's given you, he's cut you your slack. You've come back, right? He's been patient with you, as have the fans, and you've not delivered on a pitch. And this is the thing, for anybody that sits there and says, well, I back Sancho in this because he's got behaviour problems. Well, no, sorry. I back Sancho on this because the manager's clueless. The manager, he shouldn't be calling his players out in public. Well, even the Dortmund CEOs called this out. The guys at Dortmund have called him out for his behaviour problems. At Dortmund, Manchester City had behaviour problems. This is a part of what we've seen about Jadon Sancho throughout his career. He's not been the model professional. He's not done everything that the club has instructed him to do. Now, where I can sympathise with Jadon Sancho is essentially where he's perhaps been unfairly criticised about his personality or his character, in saying, oh, look at what he does, look at how he does this, or look at how he does that. Like, the media going on a witch hunt and, picking apart Jadon Sancho's character, or different elements of Jadon Sancho's character, to me is going to land you up in some. It's going to land you in some trouble with the public, right? It's going to do that because it's not justified. It's not fair. But as a professional footballer, you have the duty of fulfilling the role of which you are a model professional, and that people will look up to you and will critique you to the smallest and finest details. You will be followed, and you will have a hawkeye following you the whole time, right? You don't leave the public domain. That's it. So everything you do, everything you say, gets put under a microscope. And Jadon Sancho's not helped his case with how he's behaved with his discipline as a football player. What he does in personal life is entirely up to him. Now, the media like to go and make things personal. Now, that's not fair. But as a footballer, you've got a duty to be a model professional. So you do that. You cover that base first. So for me, I back the manager in the sense that if he has been having disciplinary issues, that he should be called out. Marcus Rashford got called out for a disciplinary issue, and he responded perfectly. He responded perfectly to it. He was dropped to the bench. He came on, had impact, and started doing extra on the training ground. He started going the extra mile. Ten Hag had praise for that. He absolutely had praise for that. What if Sancho didn't put the statement out, kept things private, went to the manager and said, fine, please don't talk about me like that in public again. I'd appreciate that. It's a more respectful engagement over a disagreement. And then you move forward. Like, things move forward. Both parties, seek a resolve. And you don't have this standoff of, oh, Sancho has to apologise, but he refuses to. And it makes the whole thing seem like a big episode of Love Island where a couple falls out. It's ridiculous. You don't see this at any other club. You just don't see it at any other club. And I just think, whether you want to blame the manager or not, for me, I back this manager because he's one person, whereas the squad are about 22, 25, 27, 30 players, different personalities. And there's one person, I believe, in respecting the pyramid, the structure of authoritative power. And your manager, who's got better power, higher power, more authority than you, that's where your respect lies. And this is the thing, the modern day respect in the modern game of football has gone. And the fans have just completely accepted it. They've just let it slide. And now players know this. So now they get protected. That's why player power exists, and it can seep into any squad very, very easily. And that can't be the case. To me, that cannot be the case. Ego and experience, Harold and Johnny. Ten Hag can't throw players under the bus. Sancho accepted because he knows he might have to keep them with none of his chosen alternatives. Possibly, it's possible that could be the case. How good do you think Rooney will do at Birmingham? I don't really know, to be honest. I mean, he didn't do a fantastic job at Derby County when he was there, and to be honest, where was it that Birmingham were in the table? Because I swear they were actually in a good position. I believe they were in a good position. Let me have a look real quick. So, pretty sure they were sat around 6th, wasn't it? Yeah. So Birmingham City are currently sat 6th. They've sacked their manager for being in 6th place. They've put Rooney in there, who I don't, to be honest, think would do as good a job as their previous manager. I don't know about you, but I think Birmingham have completely shot themselves in the foot with that. I think they've completely shot themselves in the foot. Not at all understanding that move. If there's some underlying plans about Manchester United having a sort of like feeder club partnership or a loanee club partnership thing with Birmingham City, maybe that would explain a bit more as to the appointment. That is Birmingham City trying to do that sort of business so that they can have a more closer business-based relationship with Manchester United. Aside from that, I don't really understand the move itself. I think it's a bit of a baffling one for me. But yeah, Birmingham City sat in 6th place on 18 points. Absolutely mental. After 11 games played, they're already 12 points behind Leicester City, 10 points behind Ipswich Town. So yeah, interesting decision that. But anyways, guys, I'm going to wrap the stream up there. It's gone on a little bit longer than I was anticipating. I'll probably want to catch myself a bit of an earlier night tonight as I've got work tomorrow. Probably will be something happening in the evening on the Saturday, so do keep your eyes peeled for that. As for the rest of the day, I'll probably be relatively busy, but I will look to try and get something out again tomorrow. But thank you very much to everybody that has tuned in. Really appreciate the love and support from channel regulars. So big ups to Stephanie and also to Anthony Herbert. It's been a pleasure to see you in the chat, Anthony. First time watching Hot Fuzz, but I'll say it was a good stream. Thank you very much, Anthony. Really means a lot to me. Big ups to everybody that has smashed a like. And if you are watching this on playback, then do be sure to contribute to the likes and boosting the streams up the algorithms. That would be massively appreciated. If you haven't done so already, please do subscribe. On the road to 120 subscribers, and if we do get there in the near future, would be a fantastic achievement. So thank you to everybody that does contribute in support to the channel. Massively appreciated. But anyways, that is it from me for today. The rest of you enjoy the rest of your Friday nights, and hope you guys are excited and ready for the weekend, although there's no football to enjoy, no club football at least, but enjoy your weekends nonetheless. Hope everything goes well for everybody, and we'll be seeing you again tomorrow night. I would assume tomorrow night. Maybe there'll be a stream, maybe there won't be. I don't know. It's literally just we just go along off the cuff. We are literally just off the cuff here, so most likely there will be something. But anyways, until then, it's goodbye and good night.